Launch Skype. Okay, we'll install that update for you right away. Yeah, we are. Let me make sure I got you. There you go, Wes. Now you're turning on.
Yay. Should we leave the other chat open? I dropped it in there. New stream, please head over here. SK's orders.
Yeah, well, we'll see who follows.
Yeah, I suppose.
One second.
Oh, crap.
All right. Well, Jesus.
Two watching.
Yeah, it's probably you and me. Um,
Yep.
um, yeah, so I did one step wrong setting up the stream, and it set it up differently, and then it just would not go.
It's
Um,
weird.
yeah, but now we are. All right, so Real Monsters. I
Yay.
am SK Barrett, finally, and join me as always is the lovely and talented Wess Haubrich.
Hello, hello, hello.
Apologies for the technical issues, but we are going, and
And
we are
get
going to
Deadman
talk.
to do his technical voodoo.
Yep, yep. Uh, I went down a wrong path setting up the stream, and that's what caused that problem. So here we go. Stupid defenses.
Yep. Downright stupid. And before we get into that, I
Yeah.
thought it might be kind of instructive to give people a little bit of the news on some not so stupid criminals of the past week.
Oh,
Um,
do we
two
have some of those?
prosecutors, I do have a few. Two prosecutors in St. Louis got their law licenses suspended for covering up a 2014 police beating. Let's see. Um, well, that next one would kind of fall into the
Oh,
stupid one. Maybe I'll
where
leave
was
that one
that?
alone. St. Louis, Missouri,
St.
right in my
Louis.
neck of the woods.
Two female prosecutors, no less.
Yes,
I
this would
read
have been
about
right
this.
before Michael Brown. Um, let's see. The NYPD officer who choked Eric Garner is going to be punished after going through their union stuff, which that one was kind of about time, in my opinion. It was just wrong what they did to him. But 17s shot at a Houston Snapchat house party. I had no idea how these work, but evidently
A
they just send
what?
out a Snapchat house party.
Man,
Apparently they send out random invites over the app and people just gather for whatever reason. But 7 of them shot, none of them dead. Um, Now this next one was a really smart criminal, I thought, when I saw it. Did you see the video walkthrough of the Wisconsin fugitives the child porn fugitives bunker?
yes.
That was amazing, I thought. He built that whole
Yes.
thing from a dump. Just
Yeah,
amazing.
let me see if I can. I have that image from, God, was it last week?
Oh, it might have been.
Let me see if it's in with Zodiac's pictures. No, what did I do with that? All right,
Oh, well, it's not there.
it's not there, but it was. Ah, somebody.
Um, yeah, and actually the last one I had on there, Danny Masterson and the Church of the Name That Shall Not Be Mentioned, crappy sci-fi writer, sued for stalking and conspiracy to cover up sexual assaults. Pretty amazing. right
And
there.
that's one of the actors from that '70s show, if I'm not mistaken.
He is the red-haired guy, not Topher Grace. I can't
Right.
remember his character's name, but
I don't remember any of
yeah.
their character names except Red.
Oh, Kelso, I think was what's his face, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, stupid defenses. I've got about 30 of them. If we wanted to go through them or go through it sort of randomly, um, the first one that I had on there was pretty, gross once you get down to it. Is calling it the tale of the botched nut chop.
Oh,
I think we have this guy's mugshot.
yeah. Now that I know what you're talking about, yes.
August 19, 2019, Highland County, Florida. That guy. Gary Van Ryswick, age 74, decided he was going to castrate a guy in his home in Central Florida that he met over a fetish website. And
What kind
I
of
was
fetish
having
is
trouble
that?
I was having trouble understanding that because by definition, if you're successful, isn't that no longer a fetish?
Well, if you're the ampu, the I guess what would it be? The surgeon in this case.
Yeah.
You can continue on.
Well, yeah, and that would be this guy, the Gary Van Ryswick, um, would have been the surgeon in this case. He had his own makeshift surgical suite in his house and everything. And there's this poor bastard on his bed who evidently has a fetish for wanting his nuts chopped. And I guess all they had were some crappy painkillers they ordered off the web from England. And Van Ryswick was having a hell of a time stopping this guy's bleeding. So he ultimately called the cops.
Yeah, there's probably a little bit more to it than a scalpel and some gauze. I'm just guessing from
Yeah,
all
I would think so.
I've been in I've had a couple of minor knee surgeries. There's a lot of shit in a surgical suite.
Yep. A makeshift one in your home, man. Is
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, this guy also ended up confessing to another one that he did in a hotel room,
Oh, so
which
this was not his first
not his first
roundup, so to
rodeo.
speak.
Nope. Yeah,
Wow.
he I don't know if that person died, but evidently it was similar disastrous results in that. Um, so yeah, they arrested him for practicing medicine without a license that resulted in great bodily harm, which I didn't know they had a separate class of crime for that.
I
Um,
guess. Wow.
yeah, he's currently being held on $250,000 bond. So let's see. Well, this one was a
Ouch.
little bit more tame when I read it. Was calling it the "A wandering nipple a day keeps the cuddle therapist away."
I read about this one. That too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Please enlighten us.
Cuddle therapist Suzanne Woodward of Tempe, Arizona, accused of sexual misconduct after her nipple found its way inside a client's mouth for 5 minutes at her
Accidentally.
spa. That's what they were saying. Well, Woodward isn't saying that. She's claiming that the client asked for it. The client is not.
There was one
Um,
thing weird about this story, and that was that, well, I mean, at least on the surface is weird, okay? And that was that the client apparently left and without a complaint, but then later decided it wasn't cool.
oh, I didn't see that part of it. Interesting. So
Um,
she later decided, she's later claiming it was non consensual.
yes.
Wow. Well, Maybe that's why they ultimately let her keep her state credentials. No charges were filed. Um, and allegedly, what she told the client was, quote, "I am channeling nurturing energy to you through my breast." This was a woman, by the way. It was a female client.
Yeah, w- uh, woman on woman action.
Hmm. And Miss Woodward apparently charges $80 a session for anybody who's interested.
She does naked cuddle therapy, which, by the way, I'm shocked to learn this doesn't require a license.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah. I could
I
see
mean,
that in
why would it?
Arizona.
Honest to God.
Arizona's a more free state. I could see that. But yeah, she was kind of interesting there. Um,
It, so it wasn't her cuddle license that was at risk. It was her other license, which was shit. I can't even remember. Some other was it?
License to run a spa, maybe?
Yeah, I forget what it was.
Something like that. You know what? I was coming into a few different categories as I was researching
It
all
was
these.
massage. That's what she had.
Oh, uh huh. So she got that license revoked.
No, no, no. That's the one that it was not revoked, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what it said there.
But because she wasn't acting in the role of a massage therapist during that session.
Yeah, she's acting more like a hooker once you get down to it, which
Very
she's not too
limited
far
one.
from Nevada. Uh, you know, there was quite a few different categories of stupid I was running into as I found these.
Yeah.
And one of the bigger ones was oddly presidential assassins. Have you ever
Um.
heard of this guy named Pavlik?
No.
He tried to kill Kennedy. They were just looking for the
What?
entry on him. This guy tried to kill Kennedy 2 years before Oswald did.
Like
Just a
like
second.
during the election?
1960 is when he tried to kill him. Richard Pavlik tries to kill JFK. And get this, the way that he did it, a 1950 Buick filled with dynamite. He was
Um.
going to explode it when JFK went to mass. Um, so evidently, this is a guy who he's what you could call an old school Protestant Southern racist. You know,
Okay.
he's a Klansman. He doesn't like Catholics is a big thing, and that's one reason he was going after Kennedy. But before he did
Okay, hold
this,
on. I don't understand. What's wrong with Catholics? I mean, in this context.
in this context, the same context as the Klan, they tend to hate him because they think they bow to a foreign ruler because of their beliefs on the
Oh.
Pope.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
but then also, I think a lot of that had to do with immigration too. With a lot of them hating like
Irish,
Italians, especially. Yeah, and Irish too.
which the
Coming.
Kennedys are Irish.
Absolutely. But yeah, he was going to do that when they went to Mass. And for whatever reason, before he decides to do it, he starts spreading cryptic messages through the mail, a la the Riddler.
And Unabomber. Unabomber did that kind of shit too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He really did. Yeah, he
And
was spreading these
Zodiac.
little notes. Yeah. Not like a full letter, but like a note through the mail,
Really?
spreading these clues about it.
Well, that makes
But
it federal. Just
that it
that.
does. Um, But yeah, this guy, he ended up abandoning his plan when he saw Jackie Kennedy and the Kennedy children with him going to Mass. So he
Oh.
did not detonate his 1950 Buick filled with dynamite. But let's see. They ended,
Was he ever arrested and charged with anything?
yeah, actually getting to that.
Okay.
After he decides no on the Kennedy thing, he decides, okay, I'm going to go after some other people. And the
I
postal
mean, what?
inspectors
I mean, you
start
don't want to waste
tracking
a
him
good
through the mail.
Buick bomb, right?
Yep. So they start tracking him, and then he decides, you know who I'm going to kill? I'm going to focus it a little bit more and
Yeah.
go after the Postmaster General.
Because,
I
well,
have
I don't
no
know.
idea.
Because
We're talking
he's,
just pure crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, he decides he's going to do that. He's unsuccessful. They arrest him, but he is
Damn,
found not
damn
guilty by
post
reason
office
of
handles the
insanity.
mail for blacks and Catholics and Jews
Yep,
or
sure
something.
does. But yeah, they put him in an institution for the rest of his life, and he ended up dying in 1975.
Wow.
But this was not, like I said, the only. Hold on, I think there's a problem with my volume. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Here we go. I can actually hear you better now. Um, let's see. The second one, this one was really funny. The case of Richard Lawrence. This guy was actually the first guy to attempt to assassinate a president on American soil. Um,
I'm gonna go
Lawrence
ahead and
thought,
put Hinckley up just so we have somebody's face to look at.
oh yeah,
We'll get to him, I'm sure.
oh yeah, he's on my list too. But yeah, Lawrence thought he was Richard III, reincarnated, I guess. I don't know. But
The historical Richard III or the Shakespeare version?
my understanding, it was a bit of both,
Yeah.
based upon people who were observing him. But
And who
yeah,
did he attempt to assassinate?
he was the first one on American soil in 1835. He tried to kill Andrew Jackson. He came up behind him at a funeral with two pistols, both of them jammed as a result of humidity that day. And what
Wow.
does Andrew Jackson do as a result?
Probably
He
stabs
turns
him.
around. He sees this guy. He takes his namesake, his cane, and beats him within an inch of his life.
Jackson's a guy you don't fuck around with, man.
Right. You don't.
He was a tough
No,
son of a bitch.
he was. Man. But yeah, they also found him not guilty by reason of insanity.
So
And
they
he
had that
spent,
all that time ago. So this that insanity defense, it's not a recent construct. L-
iterations of it, which a
I'm
lot of
sure
what
it's
we'll be talking about
I'm
are
sure it's evolved.
iterations.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And Hinckley's going to be a big part of that when we get to him. Um, but yeah, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and sentenced to time in an institution for the rest of his life. But then we get into, and I was saving Hinckley for last in this category because he also dovetails with another type that I encountered quite a bit of, which was the film defense. Not just because of Taxi Driver, mind you. There was a few others in there. Um, but now getting into the other presidential assassins, I think we have a picture of Squeaky, Lynette Squeaky Frome.
Uh, Little Red Riding Hood.
Yep. There you go, Kelly.
Or I remember calling her in those days Squeaky from No Grease.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Squeaky, stupid nickname from. Former Manson acolyte, of course. But yeah, she became an environmentalist after that whole, grand experiment in Helter Skelter Death and Love in the Desert went down. And somehow that dovetailed with let's kill the president. I'm not
That was
totally sure
Ford,
how.
right?
It was. Um, she met President Ford in Capitol Park in D.C. on the morning of September 5th, 1975. Wore, for whatever reason, a red robe. I do not get why she thought that was a good idea. But
Hmm.
at any rate, she draws her Colt 45 and is almost instantly tackled by a Secret Service agent.
She didn't get
But
a
what?
round off, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, but it gets even dumber than that, actually. The
Oh,
morning of, she was unsure whether she wanted to go through with it. So what she do? She ejects the round from the chamber. She didn't have a round in the gun at all. She didn't put it back in when she went and attacked
so
him.
who was telling her to do this shit?
I have absolutely no idea.
I mean, if nobody's directing her, but she's got this plan to assassinate Ford, but she's
Hmm.
not sure she wants to go through with it, so she takes the round out of. There's something missing here, and it
That
might be between her ears.
I think so. Yeah, she ejected the round out of the chamber that morning, and she never put it back in.
So
But
why go through with it if you weren't
was she just
at
wanting to
all?
scare the piss out of him? I have
Did
absolutely
she
no idea.
think she was gonna get, reunited with Charlie in prison?
I don't know as far as that goes. But another thing I didn't know about that, there was another attempt on Ford's life only 17 days after that.
What?
Someone by the name of Sarah Jane Moore also tried to kill him 17 days after Squeaky did. And she was also unable to get a shot off because of lightning quick Secret Service reactions.
Them Secret Service guys, they're gonna get some attention today.
Yep, they really are, man. I should have researched her a bit more, but yeah, only 17 days after that.
Her dad was an aeronautical engineer, so she comes from a, reasonably um,
Affluent.
affluent and intelligent background.
Yep, she did. But then again, look at some of the others who fell in with Manson. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah,
these weren't stupid people. Tex Watson was an A student in his
right.
school. You
Yeah, a
know,
lot of these were not dregs that he scooped up for the most part. Um,
no, they really weren't.
but I keep thinking about something one of my nieces told me,
Hmm.
um, who got into an abusive marriage, and this is a woman who has uh, she co-authored a book on vitamin D. She's got a degree in uh, microbiology. She's got some serious brains going on.
Hmm.
And she kept, um, she told me that, while she was in the midst of this abusive marriage, she would tell herself that it wasn't possible that it was abusive because she was too smart to allow herself to be in that kind of a relationship.
Yeah,
Is
I
one of the
wonder.
ways. It's one of the reasons why it kept going longer than it should have, because she didn't believe that she could uh, get herself into that kind of a situation.
I wonder how often that psychology gets repeated with that dynamic. You know, like with battered wife syndrome.
Probably more than people, expect. Um,
I
yeah.
would think so. Which actually kind of reminds me another entry on this list, the irresistible impulse defense. And can you guess where we might know that one from?
Hmm, I don't know. It just kind of reminded me of swimming pools, the attractive nuisance laws. You know,
We actually know that one from Lorraine and John Wayne Bobbitt.
I just watched that interview with her and John, a documentary on, I think it's Netflix.
Didn't Jordan Peele do that? I
Yeah, it
thought
was
he
a good
was a
show.
producer.
It was a pretty good show.
I think it was on Amazon though.
It might have been.
Hmm. I mean, I need to watch that. But yeah, for those who do not know, this was the little case of penis chopping, for lack of a better term. John Wayne Bobbitt.
Hey, it's
Yep.
just like that first story.
Yeah. Yep. John Wayne Bobbitt. He comes home drunk off his ass one night and apparently rapes his wife, although he was acquitted of that.
Yes.
Um, he was acquitted, but I still think he might have been a bit of an asshole. Um,
I think that's pretty much without question.
yeah, but yeah, he does that, and she's sitting there apparently stewing, and according to her defense, she had the irresistible impulse to grab a butcher's knife and go after his manhood. Which, there might be something to that
According
one.
to her, she suffered various forms of abuse at his hand for years.
Yes. And it
According
all
to
sort of built up.
well, it's not all one-sided here, though. Let's just be clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
She was an angry person. Several of the reports from neighbors said yes, they fought a lot, and she was the one that instigated a lot of it.
Oh,
On
uh-huh.
the other hand, John he was a he was a dog. I mean,
Yeah,
he was a horn dog. He was out chasing skirt all the time,
he
and he
was.
wasn't good to her. Absolutely.
But yeah,
What's
I mean,
interesting is neither one of them were convicted of anything.
nope, neither one. She was off, man. They let her off.
Yeah.
I wonder if he learned his lesson with that. I remember watching a few shows on that where he got some really weird contracts to do porn after that happened.
He did some porn. He did a lot of weird things. He's not a real bright guy.
He's not. I mean, there might be something to that irresistible impulse, but
Yeah.
the
Uh,
logic I think is a bit troubling there too, because in theory that could be used to excuse a lot of things. You know,
right. Or
I had the
anything.
yeah, I
Or
had the irresistible impulse to shoot that motherfucker in traffic when he cut me off in his car,
or take
or
this money from the bank.
yeah, yeah,
Because,
or
I mean, there it is. It's just sitting there waiting to be taken, right?
yeah, or I
It's
had the irresistible impulse to jack off on the subway, otherwise otherwise known as the SK defense, right? Only kidding.
it is you don't know how irresistible that is, man.
uh, yeah, we actually did an unexpected dovetail there. I was going to get into John Hinckley next.
Ah.
Uh, he is weird, man.
Oh yeah.
1976, he sees Taxi Driver and his obsession with the 12-year-old Jodie Foster starts, which she plays a prostitute in that, by the way.
How old was she again? She was just a kid.
I think around maybe, was it 16?
Something like that.
Maybe even younger.
I'll look it up.
But yeah, Hinckley, he actually came from a fairly affluent family too. Um, his dad was corporate higher up, but he began taking antidepressants and tranquilizers in the late 70s to deal with various psychiatric issues. And it all sort of started from there. He sees Scorsese's Taxi Driver, he watches it about 15 times, and he decides, I really like that Jodie Foster, and I'm going to follow her. So what's he do? He finds out she's at Yale and stalks her there. And, at first, to get on her good side, he decides, well, I'm going to talk to her about a performance. I'm just going to let her know how much I admired her. And I'm going to call her incessantly. And apparently he did plenty of that.
Jesus, she was 14.
Oh, wow. Dang.
By the way, Jodie Foster, smart lady.
She is. She really is. And she avoided, Hinckley like the plague there. And finally, his delusions got to the point where he said the only way I can catch her attention is to do what Travis Bickle, Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver, did and try to kill a presidential candidate. And he starts actually focusing his attention on Carter, not Reagan. But he
Hmm.
is picked up in it was 79 in Nashville for trying to carry a gun onto an airplane. So weapons charges there.
In
Next.
'79.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I can't remember that being a thing in '79 that they checked for. Honest to God, I don't remember that being a real thing.
You know, with that, we might be giving him too much credit if we assume that he would have done it in a rational way, considering who this is.
No, but I mean, I can't remember. I don't recall that there was that much security that they would have found a gun on him.
Yep.
I
I
don't
don't
I
know,
don't
but
recall there even being metal detectors in those days. But it must have been.
somehow they found the weapon on him in Nashville, and they hauled him in on that. But yeah, that delusion after he gets out and gets off from this charge ultimately becomes I want to assassinate President Reagan, which he thought would make Jodie Foster his equal. I don't know how, but that was essentially his words there. But
So
um,
did he attempt an insanity plea?
when you get, hold on just a second, I'm about
Am I
getting to
jumping
that.
ahead?
Yeah,
All right, we'll
um,
get to that. It's okay.
March 30th, 1981, Hinckley fires 6 shots from a 22 revolver at the president, President Reagan,
Yep.
as he exits DC's Hilton Hotel after a speech in front of the AFL-CIO. Um, let's see, he wounded DC officer Thomas Delahanty,
Hmm.
Secret Service agent Timothy McCarthy, and press secretary James Brady, who died
Right.
35 years after those initial wounds. And he did,
Oh, also the president.
yes, yes, but Reagan wasn't wounded with a direct hit. He was wounded from a ricochet off of his limo.
Okay.
So it was, non critical with him. Um, although it grazed his chest, but non critically. But yeah, he was found non guilty by reason of insanity for 13 different counts at the 1982 trial. And what did Hinckley call it after all that happened? The greatest love offering in the history of the world. Yeah.
So, you know, I swear to fucking God, there's every woman in the world has had some Hinkley type person in their lives. Um, who, I mean, not to that extent, right? But guys,
Yeah.
but guys who have built up these completely imaginary relationships out of the tiniest molecules of of contact and information,
Hmm.
and they just
Absolutely.
create these huge fantasies in their heads, and they get kind of really unruly when it doesn't play out the way they've imagined because
They
they
do.
become very attached to these fantasies.
They confabulate something that isn't there. That
Right.
actually reminded me of another one. It was, I think, back in the 80s. Here where I live, one of our news anchors was almost choked to death by a stalker who also confabulated, that.
Hmm.
But, but for whatever reason, Hinckley didn't get to the idea that, oh, I'm going to kill Jodie Foster. I'm going to kill the object of what I'm
Which is
stalking.
often the case. Which is
Yes.
sadly often the case. He was still in the mode of wanting to impress her,
Yes.
and
He
he
was.
couldn't tell the difference between her as a person and her as the role she played, which is something I think was it Gilda Radner said?
Hmm.
Uh, Not Gilda Radner. Um, who played the famous girl character Gilda?
Oh, Rita Hayworth.
Rita Hayworth said, yeah.
Yep.
She says they go to, she's talking about, man, they go to bed with Gilda and they wake up with Rita and they
Yep.
don't like it.
Yep. Most definitely. But yeah, he attempts it and he's found not guilty by reason of insanity, basically saying that he thought taxi driver told him to do it in a lot of ways. But this actually caused massive revisions to in the statutes governing insanity pleas.
Really?
Yeah, after great public outcry after the verdict. And actually, Idaho, Montana, and Utah totally abolish it, which is kind of weird because the defense is only the insanity defense, the idea of it, has only been used in 2% of trials before Hinckley,
Mm-hmm.
and it was unsuccessful in 75% of those, of the ones it was used in.
So getting rid of it wasn't really necessary.
No, I don't think so anyway. But yeah, and that ultimately also led to the Insanity Defense Reform Act of 1984, which altered those rules in federal court too.
Mm.
And let's see, Hinckley, he got out of his treatment in 2016 and he's been living alone ever since. Um, reading a lot of the psych reports on him too,
Yeah.
a lot of the doctors I saw said there's a continuum, of course, between sane and insane. And a lot of them believe that Hinckley is somewhere toward the middle of it, between legal sanity and legal insanity.
Interesting.
So I'm not totally sure what that says about our system, that he's not still locked up if that were the case.
Yeah, I don't think people would be real comfortable having him wandering around.
No, no, I don't think so. But this actually leads into the other film defense that I had, which
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
drumroll please, the
Dun dun.
Matrix defense.
There's a Matrix defense?
Yes. Let's see. It's basically what it sounds like. I did it because I thought I was in a computer simulation and not in the real world. Ergo, death
What?
cannot be attempted because it doesn't exist in the Matrix. Let's see. This is considered, of course, a close relative of Hinckley's taxi driver defense. There's two big cases with the Matrix defense. The first one, Tonda Lynn Ansley from Hamilton, Ohio, found not guilty by reason of insanity when she used it after shooting her landlady in the head in 2002.
Wow.
The second one, Vadim Miesages, Miesages, from San Francisco, found incompetent to stand trial after chopping up his landlady and citing the Matrix defense for why he did it. Um,
Couldn't that also be considered like the Buddha defense that there's no death? It would just, go on to be reborn as, some other level being or something like that.
it could be.
I
They
mean,
cited the Matrix exactly, though. Let's
it's
see.
interesting nobody's tried that defense though. I don't believe in death.
You might be giving them ideas there.
I'm helping these people transition.
It's the Real.Monsters legal aid clinic. Oh yeah, and the sniper Lee Malvo used a variant of it too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Uh-huh. He cited the Matrix a few different times too, as being very influential on him. Um, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I did it because I was in a computer simulation. The next one I
Wow.
had on the list was the Shaggy defense.
Like Scooby Doo Shaggy?
No, the
Oh,
Shaggy, it wasn't me, Shaggy. Denying guilt despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. And
Oh my God. We just had this like a couple months ago.
yeah,
I know of at least one very recent case. What's yours?
the one that I have down is R. Kelly using this extensively in his child porn trial. It was
Oh,
actually coined in 2008 by Slate's Josh Levin. Um, oh, and then the other one that I had as an example, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam with the blackface pic
oh,
back in February. What was the case that you had there?
there was a guy a couple months ago who was given a strip search, cavity search, and was found with balloons full of drugs in his
Oh,
anus, which he claimed were not his.
well, there you go. It sounds like the woman who had the same strip search and they found it in her vagina and she said that.
Yeah, I don't know
Oh
how I got
man,
there. I don't know. It's not
it
mine.
wasn't me.
I mean, it's one thing to say, "Oh, this is my friend's jacket." It's
Yep,
another to say, "I don't know how those drugs got into my body."
yep.
That's going, a couple steps beyond. Wow.
uh, let's see. Oh, the strange case of the moronic threatster. My name for that. This was another
Oh,
recent
oh,
one.
by the way, some people might say that OJ used that defense.
Oh, it wasn't me.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of a variant of the if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
yeah. I'm not saying OJ was n- uh, guilty or not guilty, but I will say,
Mhm.
having watched the entire trial, the prosecution fucked it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, if I had been on that jury, he would have walked just the same, just from what I saw, because they did not do their job.
Nope, they really didn't. Uh, yeah, the strange case of the moronic threatster,
The
August
what?
19th. I consider this guy a moron.
Okay.
19-year-old Farhan Sheikh arrested for threatening a Chicago area abortion clinic on iFunny. I had never heard of this app till then. I actually took a screen grab of why I consider him to be a moron though,
Oh,
and
I
we
think I
put it
have
in
that one.
there. Yep. He said on the app, I will proceed to slaughter and murder any doctor, patient, or visitor. And then what does he say after that? To all the FBI agents in this app, I am not a satirical account. I post what I mean and I will carry out what I post. Not even leaving yourself wiggle room for a defense.
Jesus. You can't even go, oh, just kidding.
Yeah, that's why
Talk about
he's a
burning your own
moron.
bridges.
Yep, I could not agree more with that. Uh, I'm flipping around kind of randomly through here. The Matrix defense. Oh man. Now, the most interesting one I had on this list was towards the end, the doppelganger or mirror mirror defense. Mr.
Ooh.
Raj, age 27, arrested in Malaysia for transporting 166 kilos of marijuana and 1.7 kilos of raw opium. Now, what's the penalty for that there?
Probably death.
Death by hanging, exactly. And the authorities on top of this, you would think they have him dead to rights. They have his DNA. The only problem? There's
What's
two Mr. Rajas. Arsathis Raj and Sabaris Raj.
so?
Identical twins.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. I thought this was pretty genius. So
So,
what
so,
did they
so,
do?
so here's the thing that people need to understand. From a DNA perspective, identical twins are the same as clones.
Yes.
There's not enough. There is. There is no genetic difference, zero genetic difference between these people that they can pick up on with current methodologies.
That is very true. And I think the twins knew this. So what did they do when they're starting to get needled at and interrogated by the authorities there? They
Point the
start pointing
finger at each
fingers at
other.
the other one.
Yeah.
Yep. And it ultimately got to the point where they had to totally release both of them. Even though they had their DNA, they couldn't even establish which one they caught dead to rights transporting that.
That's brilliant, actually, as a defense.
It really is.
That is the opposite of stupid. That's actually brilliant. Yeah, prove it was
Yeah.
me.
Yes. I didn't include that one for stupidity. There was none in that. I
That
included
was
that for
very clever.
notoriety.
That was very clever. Yeah, prove I'm the one and not him.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Uh, let's see.
I mean,
Oh,
short of having them and catching him in the act and taking him into custody and keeping him there, how do you
yeah.
prove that?
Yeah, there would be no other way to prove it. Um, let's see. Oh, this one was just wrong. The Black Rage defense.
Hmm.
Colin Ferguson boards a Long Island train December 7th, 1993. He is extremely dissatisfied with the service, apparently. He
With
shoots
a
25
subway,
people. A subway train
he's
in Long
dissatisfied
Island.
with the service of a subway.
Yep. Dead Man's Tome
Okay.
Jr. Yes, this is the Black Rage defense, Dead Man's Tome Jr. He is apparently dissatisfied with the service in there, he said. So he shoots 25 people on this train, killing 6. And his attorneys were going to argue that he felt rage so profound at being a black man who lives in a white society that it drove him temporarily insane. But what's he do before they're able to argue that? He
Shoot some
fires
more
them.
people. Oh.
Yeah, he totally fires them and he defends himself, saying there was a computer chip implanted in his head that caused
Hey.
him to shoot those people. Oh, and
Oh.
I call President Bill Clinton to the stand. He did that too.
Did Slick Willie show up? I'm guessing no.
Nope. We, in fact, have his mugshot. Um,
Oh, okay. I got that.
yeah, this dude was found guilty on all counts, sentenced to 315 years to life.
Wow.
Yep. And another pretty brilliant one that I thought of, that I found when I was reading.
Should call that the X Files defense.
Yeah, they could have once he started defending himself. From what I was understanding, his lawyers were actually pretty jazzed about taking on the Black Rage defense. They thought it would be a landmark case for race relations. But then, like I said, he axed him.
Wow.
So, but yeah, getting back to another one I thought was pretty brilliant. This one was from the Reddit subthread that was all about defense attorneys in their interesting cases. And this was one, this person's grandfather was a public defender. And one day he takes on a case of this guy who is accused of breaking into a car, right?
Okay.
And the cops, they have him on. This guy fits the description of another bandit who had been, serially breaking into cars around there.
Okay.
And he walks into this attorney's office and he says, "How long do the cops say it took me to break into one of those cars?"
Yeah.
He said, 10 minutes. He said, "I can prove it wasn't me. I can break into it in under 20 seconds. So what's he do? He breaks into that car in 12 seconds in front of a judge. And he's let off.
The incompetence defense.
Well, the highly competent
The comp
defense.
yeah. That I'm too good to take 10 minutes to break into this car,
Exactly.
which is fascinating because, I mean, honest to God, he could literally sit on the stand and say, "Yeah, I steal cars," but not this one. And there's nothing they
Yep,
could do about it. I mean,
exactly.
they can't arrest him for admitting to stealing cars generally
Nope,
or
they
having that
can't.
skill,
They don't have a damn thing on that specific crime.
right?
The judge, he let him off right away when he saw that, too.
I don't blame him. It's a great,
Yep.
I mean, that's a ballsy defense, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. And think about it. If he had screwed it up even a little bit, but
Yeah, kudos to the lawyers for going through with that.
yep.
A
Well, being a,
lot of lawyers are weenies, and they don't want to fight, and they don't
oh,
want to
yeah.
take chances, and they just want to settle shit.
Well, and especially when you're a overworked public defender, like this guy apparently was,
Yeah.
you're going to be taking anything that you can get. At least I would if I were in that position. When you consider that they don't have near the amount of resources that the prosecution has for any given case, public defender's office. That's a big problem with this country, too. We should rectify it.
Yeah, public defenders.
Give them better
Yep.
resources. But a funny and stupid one that I found on that thread, another one.
Yeah.
This person this was somebody who was sitting on a jury. Put in a stupid one on there. It's not a lawyer, but apparently this person was brought forth to the court with a DUI charge with about triple the legal limit in their system at the time.
Okay.
And their excuse was they had a rather large cut on their arm that they said their dog licked. And the
Okay.
dog's saliva having yeast in it caused the test to skew. And they weren't drunk.
Okay, so I mean, I have heard cases of people having such extensive uh, yeast infections systemically in their bodies that they would test positive for alcohol without having had a single drink. I've heard of
Yeah.
this before.
Huh?
That
Maybe
they're
they weren't so full of shit.
yeah,
I don't know how that could happen with just a dog licking a cut, though.
right. It would have to have been the I mean there have would have to be some time for that infection to spread. But uh, I know it sounds ridiculous, and it would be really tough to win me over on a jury for that. There'd have to
Hmm.
be some evidence, like, hey, I was going to get treated for this or shit like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would have to hear it from an expert
Yeah,
who says that that could happen too. They'd have to bring out like a doctor or somebody. But
it's quite rare from what I remember, and it was probably 30 years ago that I first read about it. Not as um, a criminal case so much as a medical case.
hmm,
This guy,
interesting.
yeah. Um,
What?
there was. Do you remember that lawyer show, Franklin and Bash, with those
Oh
guys that were
yeah,
real
yeah. What's his name in
mavericks?
it? I can picture him, but I can't think of his
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
Well, they did a DUI case, and I think it would be an interesting thing. They might have pulled this off of a real case for the show, but the concept was this guy was cited for a DUI of driving a golf cart
Oh yeah.
because he had crossed a public road.
Oh, this has got to
And
be Florida.
California. Um, but the defense was is that he wasn't drunk at the time because he had at the time he crossed the road, but he was by the time that they tested him. In other words, the guy had had a drink, drove, uh, got into a fight or something, whatever brought the policeman out. And by the
Yeah.
time the cops got there and tested him, he was legally over the limit. but he
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
yet when he actually drove because it takes time to metabolize it, right?
Yeah.
That if they had tested him immediately, which wouldn't have been possible, but if they had, he
Hmm.
wouldn't have been over the limit. But
Wow.
20 minutes later, he was.
Yeah. There you go. Wow. Oh, it should probably read this one before I forget about it too.
Okay.
I asked a couple of the lawyers that I know personally on my Facebook profile, well, let me read the exact question. I asked them, um, what have been the dumbest defenses you've ever seen tried in a court? Can be for anything.
Okay.
One responds, this is him verbatim. This is a case in another state I undertook years ago. 3 employees went to the authorities that the night manager of a Mammoth hotel was allowing (parentheses facilitating pimping) prostitutes upstairs when the only people allowed on the elevators were guests with keys. The 3 then got fired. We filed whistleblower cases for all of them.
Okay.
Now, who would be the most knowledgeable about this activity?
The
If you
manager.
get if you guess the prostitutes, you get a gold star. They were actually quite easy to find and willing to talk. It seems the night manager was both greedy and handsy. One by one, we took depositions from 8 young women. These were all people who had other jobs and were definitely not prostitutes from central casting. We went through the quote keen process, how they were summoned by the manager, how the payment arrangement worked, and how several of our clients had tried to 86 them from the hotel. The lead defense lawyer would then quote impeach them by showing they were involved in an illegal occupation. In other words, he would emphasize what we were trying to prove. The general counsel for the hotel group attended the last 3 depositions. When we were done, he asked if he and trial counsel could have the room. The reporter left, we left. But he screamed so loud we could hear every word. You dumb shit, they are working their asses off to prove your guy is running whores. And all you can do is help them prove they're whores? I want your ass off this case. IT settled soon. Maybe this isn't funny to non lawyers, but there is a good lesson in it. Just because you learned in law school you may do something doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah. One of the, impugning a witness's character, that's a tricky thing. You see it, you see on shows a lot where they want to say, oh, I caught him in a lie, you lied about this, that means you lie about everything kind of concept. I was
Hmm.
like, yes, everybody lies about something. So what?
Yep, absolutely.
But that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was a story I got from him. He's a pretty good lawyer, and he actually teaches business law here too. Um, but yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of some other stupid ones that I had on here.
We could talk about sleepwalking.
Hey, great idea.
Oh
Let's do
shit, I
that.
had to reboot, so I gotta find that.
I could find one in the meantime.
I lost my page. Oh, wait,
Oh,
is it?
here's a Let's say here's an easy one right here: the idiot slash Ken Lay defense. Defense by claiming ignorance of facts he should not be ignorant of. Um, Ken Lay, former Enron CEO,
Right?
is a big one there, and also other high-profile corporate trials, specifically surrounding violations of Sarbanes-Oxley, which is accounting standards.
Yeah, if you're a CEO, you can't. Yeah, that's not gonna work, man. Because you have to, even if you don't know, you know, all the laws, you have people to tell you what the laws are. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people. So you can't really go, oh, I don't know, I didn't know that was the case.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it usually doesn't fly.
Although I remember in high school, one of my friends in high school, her dad was a mortgage banker who lost his license over some business dealings. And I remember she actually showed me his appeal, and I read through it a bit. And what his argument was, I asked my lawyers if this was legal, and they said yes. What am I
Yeah,
supposed to do?
well, that could be the idiot defense if it's like glaringly obvious.
I mean, it wasn't glaringly obvious. He was convicted on a very technical um, regulation of mortgage banking laws
Hmm.
that was at least in doubt enough that you know several lawyers said it was okay on both sides of the transaction.
Oh,
So what I mean,
man.
honest to God, if you go to a lawyer and say, "Is this okay?" and they tell you, "Yeah," what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, in most cases, I would agree. But then you have the people with the idiot defense to say there's certain things that you should know.
Right,
I mean,
right.
if a lawyer told you murder was okay, that's no defense. That's what they would say.
But that's kind of common law stuff, right? And,
Yeah,
to a large extent. I
not
mean,
regulations. Yeah,
right.
not like business law.
Nitty gritty business regulations that nobody knows all of them and all of the implications of all of them. It's impossible.
Hmm. Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, there's a common saying in the law that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, fuck, nobody knows all the laws. In fact, I've read an article that says the average American commits 3 felonies a day without knowing it.
I've heard that number somewhere too. I can't
It
remember
was
the
actual
source, but
research. There was an article written on it. It was
hmm.
done. It largely it was an estimation because the federal laws are it's the code is so fucking large that
Hmm.
you just nobody can get through it all.
Reminds me of that Twitter thread that we were having fun with, the crime a day thread,
Yeah,
where they're trying to calculate the federal statutes.
very similar to that.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to at least know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what the hell are we spending our tax money on?
Know which
Absolutely.
ones I'm breaking.
Oh,
I'll be a
well,
little
yeah,
more
that
deliberate
too.
about it.
Although I wouldn't mind a strict accounting of them either.
No, no. They should just age out. Here's an idea. They should just age out. If it hasn't been applied in X number of years, is automatically defunct.
That's a great idea. You know, another way that I wouldn't have a problem with that, for every new one that you pass, you have to
Hmm.
kill two.
Exactly.
Which that's one thing to Trump's credit he was trying to do. It's one thing I agree with him on. But did you
Absolutely.
have the? Oh, go ahead.
No, no, I was just agreeing that that's a yeah. There needs to be a thinning of the laws, and making one of the things that really chaps my hide when it comes to criminal statutes is that the inflation of the um, felony laws, making
Hmm.
every fucking thing a felony because they want to appear tough on crime.
Oh yeah, not just with drug laws either.
No, no. People get up in arms over the tiniest little shit, and some Congress critter is gonna say, "We're gonna make that a felony now," because federal prisons aren't busy enough.
Oh, I was gonna say because pandering, but yeah,
Well,
that too.
also that.
Yep.
And they don't give a shit about the people who may get swept up in that. They
Oh, not
just
at
care
all.
about votes and
Yeah.
donations.
Oh yeah. Oh crap! I forgot one on the presidential assassins list.
Oh,
Giuseppe Zangara.
what? Who
He's
the
an
hell's that?
Italian, attempted assassin. He was a Italian immigrant, served in World War One, but he tries to kill FDR in Miami in 1933, and I just couldn't get over the stupidity of this. The guy's only 5 feet tall, and he stands at the rear of FDR's crowd where he's giving a speech.
I can't see him. and
Why?
and if Jesus, that's
Why
planning
would
for
you
you.
do that? he, he ended up hitting 5 people back there. He killed one.
Oh Jesus.
But yeah, he's only 5 feet tall and he's in the back of the
I'll
crowd.
clear a spot.
Oh, I actually forgot two of them on that list. Like I said, just jumping around. The other one, John F. Schrank, 1876 to 1943. This guy tried to kill Teddy Roosevelt.
Well,
Schrank's
that's a
entire
mistake.
family dies, then his girlfriend. He ends up spending his adulthood wandering the East Coast, where he finds religion and establishes himself for a little bit. But one night he has a dream where President William McKinley, also assassinated,
Hmm.
told him to avenge my death while pointing to a picture of Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
He fought
Uh,
this guy, and I'll remind people Roosevelt did not assassinate McKinley. I don't know where this guy made that
had
connection.
nothing to do with it.
This guy ends up following Roosevelt's campaign for 3 weeks, and on October 4th, 1912, he actually shoots Teddy after a
What?
speech in Milwaukee.
I didn't
But
know he got shot. You
just
mean
to show
shot
you,
at?
no, he got shot.
Really?
Literally. This isn't even the best part of it. He likely would have killed him if it would have been a little bit more to the left, but Roosevelt, he got up and gave his entire 90-minute speech
After being
before
shot?
before he went to the hospital.
So after he
Yeah,
got shot, before he goes to the hospital, he gives his campaign speech.
yes, a 90-minute speech in Milwaukee. He goes to the hospital, they sew him up, he's fine. That's one tough SOB right there.
I mean, he's already kind of a legend in that regard. But Jesus,
Yep.
I've had worse.
Basically, that
Wow.
is one tough dude right there, man. Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Don't let a little thing like a bullet stop you.
Yep.
Holy cow.
Man,
I like Teddy.
me too after that.
Kind of the
Even
last of
more.
our no nonsense presidents.
Yep.
So we have one of the defenses that gets attempted now and then is sleepwalking.
Oh, absolutely. Somnambulism, huh?
Yes. Um, hey, I didn't really mean to shoot that person. I was sleepwalking.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's problems with that, obviously. I mean, it's not easy to convince a jury. The
Hmm.
first case, one of the first cases, goes all the way back to 1846.
Oh, really?
Albert Tyrrell was acquitted in the murder of a prostitute in Boston.
Oh, wow.
Slit her throat, almost cut her head off, and set fire to the brothel.
Dang.
Um,
Wow. You
And
said that
he
was the 1800s? 18.
1846.
Oh, wow. It's a pretty damn brutal
And he
crime.
was acquitted because the lawyer was able to convince the jury that he was a chronic sleepwalker.
Wow. That's even weirder because they would have had no way to prove that back then. I was
Right.
just thinking of EEG today. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple
right.
actually to prove today.
If depending on how frequently you do it, I think.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Right.
Huh.
Um, there in 2000 was it 2001? Um, Stephen Wrights killed his lover Eva, who
Oh
was
wow.
married. They were supposed to be on a romantic Catalina Island getaway, and he smashed her
Mm-hmm.
head with a flower pot
Oh
and
wow.
kind of beat her up, punctured her with a plastic fork and all kinds of shit. Beat the shit out of her.
A plastic fork?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Also stabbed her with a pocket knife.
Dang.
He claimed that he um, thought there was an intruder and that he was fighting off a male intruder.
Oh.
Um,
Wow.
and also that the knife wounds on her neck were exactly how fishermen killed sharks, and he was a commercial fisherman. Um,
Hmm.
People,
Dang.
his parents testified that he had been a sleepwalker since he was a kid, but the
Mm-hmm.
jury did not buy it, and he was convicted in 2004.
Wow.
So it doesn't always fly.
Well, that's probably a good thing when you get the malingering people trying it. Let's see. Yeah, I had a few that were medical too. The heart attack defense. Keeson Wilkins of Ohio is representing himself at trial for attempted murder in 2005 and in 2008. This guy ends up using every single tactic in the book to delay the trial, right?
Okay,
Any way that he can.
sure.
And what's he do once it gets closer? When it gets closer to the end and a finishing
He
place?
does a fake heart attack in the
Yes.
it's
And
in what in the court in
in
the
the
court.
courtroom, nobody believes him. They didn't even stop the reading from what they were reading from in the trial when he did it.
Oh my God.
This guy was so bad at acting out the symptoms. The judge is just like, oh, just sit up. We're not going to help you. Uh, man. Oh, yeah. And then the PMS defense is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
UK law, it's mostly been used to reduce sentences, usually from murder to manslaughter. There's been a couple trials, especially over there, where um, I mean, it's been used in that capacity. And now the weirdest one, I think, that I found,
Yeah.
the most unbelievable one, automatism of Penfield. For people who don't know what that is a it's symptom with epilepsy where you can't control your muscles
Oh, the
at all.
spasms.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it takes into account with the death of 15-year-old Randolph Evans in New York City by an NYPD officer. This officer claimed that his automatism of Penfield from his epilepsy caused him to draw his sidearm, put it flush with the boy's skull, and pull the trigger.
I gotta call bullshit on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, but this guy, he ended up only getting 1 year in a psych ward for that.
Well, it's not even a psychological thing, though.
No,
It's
it's
ep
neurological.
yeah. Epilepsy is a neurological problem. It's not a psychological one.
No.
And has anybody ever, you know, pulled a gun during a seizure ever?
Yeah, yeah. Well, where you,
Ever? I mean, even
yeah,
just that.
oh, most definitely. I mean, you have to keep into account that's what he's saying is that he spontaneously seized, and that's what pulled his gun out. That's what put it flush with his head, and that's what pulled the trigger spontaneously because it's a seizure, which is just, oh man. Oh yeah, and then we have the too fat defense. I think you probably guessed this one. Edward Addis, about 285 pounds. I am too fat to have climbed the stairs and shot my son-in-law with any degree of accuracy. But now what ultimately undoes Mr. Addis's defense? His web searches for how to commit the perfect murder.
What?
Yeah, he had searched that on his computer. Several times, in fact. But and even his doctor was saying, yeah, this guy he would get winded if he climbs the stairs. There's no way he could fire that gun with any accuracy. Bullshit. So yeah, he ended up getting found guilty.
Yeah. I'm there. The talking about this police shooting reminds me
Mm-hmm.
of the case of uh, Justine Diamond in Minneapolis, who was shot by a policeman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there had been a 911 call about a possible rape in progress, and the patrol car rolled up with two policemen, and she flags down the car. The car stops, and the
Mm-hmm.
policeman in the passenger seat pulls his gun and shoots the fucking woman right past the face of the other cop. And it's the woman who called 911.
Wow. Damn. Huh. Oh, and in
Um,
Minnesota too.
yeah,
Never heard of
this was
that.
in 2017. Um,
Wow.
and the guy was convicted of third degree murder.
Damn.
But he claimed that his defense was, felt his life was in danger by this, 110-pound blonde woman waving her hands to get their attention
Mm. Wow.
because she had called the cops.
Unbelievable. For those who don't know in the audience, about half of my family's from Minnesota, so that's why my ears perked up with that part. I'm gonna have to look that up. Read a little bit more.
The perpetrator's name was Mohammed Noor, Noor.
Mohammed Newer. Huh.
The more experienced policeman who was driving the car
Mm-hmm.
didn't, oddly enough, draw his gun. He did not feel threatened.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable
Yeah.
that it would get that far. But oh,
Well,
another one I had with the thing open. Oh, did you have more on that one?
no, I just say it hadn't gone, far at all. It took seconds for this to happen.
Mm-hmm. Wow. In Minnesota too.
Yeah.
Of course, that was where Fernando Castillo was shot too. In
Was he the guy
Minneapolis.
who was shot in the car with his family in the car?
Yes. They live streamed it as he was bleeding out in there.
Yeah, it's really bizarre some of the police procedures that allow that kind of shit to happen. I mean,
It
one,
really
that he got
is.
shot, two, that they wouldn't touch him. They literally wouldn't touch him to help.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so weird how that can happen with human psychology.
Yeah.
What's that? what's it? It's not the bystander effect, but it's like it. It was Kitty Genovese. They named it, I think, after her.
Oh, yeah. Which, by the way, is a huge myth.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's been so completely distorted in the media. There was a terrific documentary done on this just a few years ago, just a couple years ago. Um, this is Kitty Genovese, for those who don't recall, is the very famous case of a woman who was stabbed to death and apparently had all these witnesses and nobody came to her aid or called the police. And it's a complete and total fabrication, well, except for the fact that she was stabbed to death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the New York Times reporter who wrote about it just completely made shit up to sensationalize the story.
Wow. Yeah, I need to watch that documentary. I saw that on, I think, was it Netflix that had it? Might have
Yeah,
been.
I think so. Yeah.
Let's see. Had one up on this page. If I can get back to it. Michael Peterson believes an owl killed his wife.
Well, it's understandable. Owls
In
are owls are
2001,
assholes.
yeah. In 2001, Kathleen Peterson was killed by blunt force trauma to her head. Her husband, writer Michael Peterson, was convicted of the murder and sentenced to life in prison. Peterson's attorney, T. Lawrence Pollard, had a different theory. He believed that an owl had killed Kathleen Peterson. A feather was found in Kathleen's hand matching that of an owl, and lacerations on her face and head matched that of an attack by a large bird. Since Peterson's conviction, Pollard has managed to find several owl experts who will corroborate his theory. In 2010, Pollard's theories were made public, and several articles were written on this mysterious yet sensible owl defense. The story garnered enough attention that Peterson was granted a new trial, which was set to begin on May 18, 2017. However, a few months before the retrial, he accepted an offered plea deal and was freed based on time already served.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd probably take that deal too.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to pin my hopes to an owl there.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, what if it was true though?
yeah.
I mean, let's just hypothetically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
you walk in, you find your wife dead, and
Yeah, from an
it's kind
owl.
of like the Richard Kimball thing, right?
Yeah. I didn't kill my wife.
Right. Uh, and everybody thinks she did it. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, nobody's gonna believe an owl did it. Honest to God,
Yeah.
you will never convince a cop that an owl killed somebody.
Oh no, and that's a thing too with the system, is that even if it were the truth, there's so much of our system that relies on deal making to
Yes,
keep it going forward,
right.
you know, even when people sometimes haven't committed crimes.
The other aspect of our system that is deeply flawed is that um, it is geared towards rewarding um, convictions, not
Hmm.
correct convictions.
Right. Absolutely, with a lot of prosecutors.
With a lot of police and prosecutors, the
Hmm.
objective is to get somebody to go to jail for the crime
Hmm.
for as long as possible. And and uh, you know, there everybody on the prosecution side, they honestly believe they're doing good works by doing this, but they're not necessarily doing good because they're not trying to find the right person, they're trying to find somebody.
Hmm. Yeah, they're just trying to pad their win column.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, and a lot
Yeah.
of the justification is, well, if they didn't do that, they did something else, so at least we got them off the street.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Actually, I think the last one that I had on there was the Kissin' Bandit.
The kissing bandit.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
She would find her way onto baseball fields, football fields, professional
Oh,
sports.
yes. I got that picture.
Yep, from the 70s to the 90s. And after kissing Nolan Ryan, because that's what she would do, is run up there and kiss the player and run back to the stands. After kissing Nolan Ryan in 1985, her attorney tried to make the argument that because her bust was so big, when she leaned over the side, gravity took her the rest of the way. Yep.
No, it's not that big.
No. I think she got off though, and to my understanding, they declined to prosecute her on about 19 counts of trespassing was the charge.
Mm. And she got away with it because she was a
Yep.
girl. But honest
Mm-hmm.
to God, really, it's the kind of thing where if the roles were reversed, a guy would have been in jail.
Yeah, most likely with that. It wouldn't fly at all in the Me Too era.
Nope. Not even then, I don't think. If some
Mm-hmm.
guy ran onto a volleyball court and started kissing players, his ass would be in jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely would be.
Which, shit, I had something in mind. Now it's gone.
It happens.
What was that? Damn it. Nope. Nope. It's gone. It's out of my head.
It happens. We should do another installment of this sometime of stupid defenses.
Sure. There's no end to them.
No, no, there isn't. I think I've exhausted all of them that I had.
Well, I had one more, but fuck
Oh,
if I can
sure.
remember it.
Yeah.
Again, apologies to everybody for the technical mishap at the front of the show. That was totally my fault and my doing. But
It
we
happens.
we recovered from it and got going at long last.
Yep, absolutely. It happens, and we will do our best to avoid it.
So with that, I think we will call it good.
Yep. Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.